I am as Anna J. Walner and Sacred Light Tarot.
Okay,
So,
I did
but
find you. That's right. I
but
did find
but
you.
Anna J. Walner is my author name. So,
Oh, it is. Okay.
mhm.
All right. Let's see. Okay. Well, wait a minute. Oh yeah, it's going. It's going. I'm
I've
just
been
gonna.
writing for a little while.
Have you? Well, we're gonna get
Yeah.
into all that. I'm gonna tag you on this just while giving people a little bit of time to come
Awesome.
in. Okay, there you are. Okay, boom. I will go back and put the other one on there, but for right now, I'm just gonna tag Anna J. Waldner because that's what I
Perfect.
have up there. Boom. There you go. Boom. All right. Okay, so this should be a very interesting conversation. Let me just share this to the other two Soulogy platforms and give people time to come in. We just got through another show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the second of three today. So we're having a
Wow, you're knocking them out today.
well. It's we got three tomorrow, two Thursday, two Friday, three Saturday, I think. Okay, so we're live on YouTube and Facebook. Second show of the day. We got a new friend here. Let me put her name up so everybody can see it. Anna J. Wallner.
Thanks for
This
having me, Todd.
absolutely, absolutely. Welcome everybody to the second show. And if you don't mind sharing this on Facebook, we're still shadow banned. We cannot put up links, and we cannot really share.
Yeah.
But Chris Carpenter wants to mention the gang stalking going on. We'll see if we can come back to that. I want to read a little something before I introduce Anna. I received a message from her, and it was interesting. She talks about a book that she would love to chat about. And I'm just going to say, quote unquote, the name is The Dark Feminine Path. It is an exploration into the shadow of our feminine self through tarot, the dark goddesses, and inner child work, a huge accomplishment. It's been a long time in the making. I like this subject. And Anna J. Walner is an international best-selling author, eclectic witch, and tarot enthusiast. And you can find her at sacredlightdivine.com, but we'll come back to all that stuff later. I think this is a great subject. There's been, in my experience, my witnessing and my experiencing, there's been an overemphasis on the light coding. And I don't, that's not the right way to put it. I'm talking about metaphoric dark and light, right? And we also know that this is about integration, and we're bringing in polarities in a
Right.
dualistic polar environment, which is really why they call this the greatest episode of the multiversal that's ever had, you know. So, but I've always been very open to the darkness. It's been a part of my journey, and I've talked about it from time to time over the years. Because of the last line of separation, in my opinion, anyway, I'm not saying it's a gospel truth, but it seems pretty apparent. Is the masculine and the feminine? You know, I mean, what?
Absolutely, the anima and the animus.
Right?
Long before we had terms of understanding that the Shiva and the Shakti,
Yeah,
the Yin and the Yang,
yeah.
it's been a pull toward a certain identity, so to speak. I was always raised to be very feminine and to play with dolls. And I was also taken out hunting with my dad and put in sports. And so there was an inner war going on within me. I didn't quite understand what that meant, and then as I started reading and getting into, I started having panic attacks at 8 years old, and I was grateful to be in the Houston area and go to some really, really fantastic therapists, which is why I ended up studying psychology in college and learning about the integration of what Carl Jung calls the shadow into the light aspect. And we see a lot of people that negate their divine feminine or their divine masculine and don't integrate those together. we end up spiritually bypassing loving and lighting our way into everything is fine. Everything is fine. I'm fine. I haven't done the inner work, but I'm good. As far as the world is concerned, I'm a okay. And you're doing yourself a disservice whenever you do that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, no doubt. And the gender thing. I guess yeah. Yeah, the gender thing is the last line of separation, and because of our physicality, and there's got to be a purpose to the fact that you're in a feminine body, I'm in a masculine body, but it still doesn't take away from what our composition is within
No.
ourselves, okay? Because we're all mirrors. So this has been a big one. Now, the reason I was prefacing that is because I don't, if you look at, like Soulogy kind of broke out around the time the internet started to explode around 2012. And obviously, primarily females in form have led the way, okay? They've been tapped into the higher energies and dimensions and such with a little bit more ease and whatever. And so we've had this evolution. And there's been a lot of talk about the goddess and a lot of talk about the divine feminine and the mother goddess and these certain characteristics and attributes. It was, 3 years ago in the summer of 2022, and I was living in Arkansas. And I was having a Soulogy Fest in Arkansas. I had been told, go rent this place. You're having a Soulogy Fest on top of a mountain. And I thought, okay, well, I'll just live on top of the mountain, borrow my friend's RV. And 2 nights later, I was told, you're going to Sedona, which I had had a relationship with Mother Sedona for quite some time. Anyway, long story short, it was a hot summer. I spent all my time in the studio in Sedona, and that was pretty much it. And even slept in the studio. But I was called out to to what they call Airport Mesa, and then to a part of the desert out there. And I had these initiations with the dark feminine, and it was extraordinary to me. It was absolutely one of the
Empowering.
yeah, it was one of the 5 or 10. Well, as an individual without anyone around me, it was top 5 experiences I've ever had. And I have video footage, I have other evidence, but that's not important. It was coming into a space where, and obviously I'm in a male body, so my perspective would be a little different than say yours. But you're probably not a good example, though. Let's just say a female. I came into the understanding of what it took, or what it was, to hold the field, to hold my balance, my heart, my love, and everything as she presented herself to me in the desert one night. And I mean, with all her fire and all her fury and everything. And essentially, I guess the initiation was for me to stand there with the pure, unconditional love in my heart, right? And it was an extraordinary experience, and there was many things that happened. So this is one of the reasons that I really was attracted to your email, because I get a lot of emails, and I try to reach every one of them. Sometimes we have a lot of volume, and sometimes I'm able to fit them in. But yeah, I would like to know, and I know there's other parts of you, I get it. But I would like to dive into that first. And just, this is Soulogy, so we don't always get it knocked out in one show. We'll probably go like 90 minutes, and we'll just see what happens, and maybe do another one next month. I have a feeling there's a lot of material to cover.
I
But
love that.
how did you talked about your childhood and what you were exposed to, which is not unconventional in the state of Texas. But
No.
how did you come to the awareness of the divine feminine, dark feminine? Well, it's still the divine feminine, the dark part of the divine feminine. What was your experience? What was the evolution? How did it originate? I'd like to jump into that a little bit, if you don't mind, just so people can kind of have an understanding and
Sure.
a foundation.
Oh, absolutely. So we're gonna have to step on some toes here, my family included, because the way that I was raised is very Southern Baptist. And so I was always told, there's a place for you, and it is very clearly defined within the context of what Baptist religion, and there are many different denominations, but they all basically say that a woman is subservient to her husband. That never sat well with me, even as a child. And I began to engage in sports and do things that were atypical. I always felt I dressed as a boy. I felt more comfortable being in my masculine, so to speak. I, at a very young age, wondered if in a previous life, and this is before I ever started researching any of this, I said, I must have been a boy in my previous life. And I feel like there is some soul transference that happens during the reincarnation process. If we do have soul fragments that are retaining from a previous life, they do carry over. So I do feel like, in a way, there are a lot of masculine aspects that carried over with me. When I look at my path through life, it's always been leading toward paving your own way or being fiercely independent. I was never one to marry for the typical reasons that my parents had told me. You go to college, you get your MRS degree, and this is a big debate and contention at the moment. So again, we're going to step on some toes here, but it was always said you can't. And there's one thing that no one should ever tell me, or maybe they should, is you can't do something, because that makes me put my shoulder into it and try 10 times harder. I was in touch with the masculine aspect of myself from a very young age. It wasn't until probably 2019 that I 2018. No, let me back up just a little bit. That I really knew the presence of the dark feminines that were around me. I'm a devotee of Lilith and of Freya. So I was in a domestic, can I say, let's just say DV situation. And I really started standing up for myself when I was always told and programmed to be subservient. There was something inside of me that had been growing and blooming and blossoming. I didn't quite understand what it was until the moment when I started to embrace that inner rage, what I would call Kali, or Kalima, burn it down. Lilith, standing up and saying, I'm not going to be subservient. I am going to do what is for my best and highest good. And honestly, this is what I have to do. When I finally came to terms with accepting that there was a series of what I would call tower moments, or Wheel of Fortune moments that couldn't be taken back, but they were like reinforcements once I finally said, okay, I surrender, universe, I surrender, mother, dark goddesses, I surrender. And then the path was made clear for me. It was like I had attained some sort of clearer vision than I had ever had before. And I knew exactly what I needed to do, which was crazy. I sold a house that was built for me, that I had been living in for 8 years. And I took a leap of faith and just left. No idea of what I was going to do, but I knew that I couldn't stay where I was because it was not a place that they wanted me to be. And that was made clear by a number of different things, including the back pasture being set on fire. Um, but it all came to me in a way that you don't need to just accept anymore. It's time for you to start standing up and speaking out.
So
And
this was 2019. Is that what you said?
This was this was around 2018
20.
whenever
Yeah.
I
So
started feeling these
you're right.
urges
So it's
to
interesting.
really push back.
Yeah, it's interesting to listen to, because, so many episodes we've had over the years. There's a lot of basic patterns and templates,
Mhm.
rhythms of people's lives, overall. And then we've had women on here. Most of the people that come on here are practitioners of some sort, and of course the women have led the way. But my point is,
Mhm.
as I was listening to you and kind of reflecting on a lot of the conversations from before, either what was being alluded to or what was being literally said, when you talked about, because whether somebody is actively following the Lilith, the Cowley, the dark feminine, because let me just make one thing perfectly clear, at least from this end. There's, for me, the dark feminine and the light feminine are one and the same thing. They both have, just like half of me is this, half of me is that. I mean, so I have
Right.
absolute, because I work for the mother, so that ought to tell you. But the way that you said, in your own way, that you reached this boiling point where
Mhm.
which is again reflective of all of our journeys in our own ways, but this one in particular, in regard to these elements of you that you weren't in touch with, that were coming to be seen, recognized, acknowledged, and embraced. But
Right.
the way that you said that, when you said, essentially, I had to recognize and get in touch with this rage inside of me.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
felt that really deep, and I know that the sisters out there could feel that too, because even though they may not be doing the exact same thing you're doing, I bet they can relate to that, because there seems to be a lot of those tower moments for women in particular that kind of set the early stage for this whole movement.
It is, and we're going through a time of transition right now. Even the astrology backs that up. So, Pluto being in Aquarius, where it's kind of vacillated, and now it will stay there, where it has been in Capricorn, where everything is, by the book, the way that it's supposed to be, in a very Capricornian way. We're now kind of taking that and we're saying, the Aquarius is the rebel. So we're saying anything goes now. You can be your own boss. You can, I've always been in a position of running my own company or being the head of any place that I've worked for, the one that always, I guess, what you would call boss bitch energy, that they say, that a common saying.
So you were in touch
So
with your dark feminine.
in
Just
some way
messing.
in some way, I always have been, but not until that moment did I really kind of, it took a moment of surrender for me to say, "Okay, I have to, it's time for me to speak up and speak out," because before, prior to that, I didn't want to make waves. I was very even keel. I wanted to just be the mediator a lot. And I think we get to a point where we say, enough is enough. I'm done being the good girl. I'm done being the one that everyone looks at and says, "Oh, she's so sweet." But you have no idea what's going on behind closed doors or behind the scenes, even inside the mind or in the body. And so being in touch with the dark feminines allows for you to say, it's okay for me to not be okay. And it's okay for me to be angry as a woman. That's looked down on a lot. It's okay for me to have emotions that go against what you would consider normal. And I want everyone to know that normal is a made up word. Just like perfection, it doesn't exist. It's an ideology that has been put in place to keep people within a certain area. So it's perfectly normal for you to be angry, for you to be upset. Is it perfectly normal for you to for you to stand up for what you believe in and to leave a marriage? Up until very recently, no, it was seen as, and my sister had to go through this. It was seen as something that was very shameful. How dare you not make the marriage work? But at some point, you have to do right by yourself and by your inner divine feminine, and say, "I know my worth and my value." Let's look at the Empress card, the Emperor card, in tarot, and it actually goes. The book goes into all of the major arcana and the shadow aspects of them. But it's like saying, what? am I allowing for space within myself to accept what it is that I deserve, or am I settling for less than I should be? Or I don't want to should myself to death. That's
No, but
another
this, but you're,
taboo word.
but what you're saying
But
is this is exactly what I've heard from
yeah,
the sisters over the years. My question was when you were talking earlier, and now that you kind of laid it out. So when that moment happened, what were you surrendering to? What were you? What were you? What was that
the
in
will of
regard
the
to?
universe.
The will of the
I
was
had
it?
long.
So was it? But was it wasn't a surrender? It was a surrender to the universe, like we've all had. This one just had to be. This one just happened to be kind of focused on what your book's about and that part of you maybe that you were discovering. But I guess what I'm saying is, was there a part of you that had to surrender to the dark feminine? Was that part of it?
Oh, absolutely. I had to. I well, yes, I had always been outspoken, but I had to accept that that was just that it was normal. And I think we get into what's acceptable and what's not. And the fact is that women get angry. Women get mad. Women have emotions that are outside of always being painted as the kind, loving, nurturing, gentle person, and that is the suppressed anger or rage over a period of time that comes boiling to the surface. And you have to say, am I accepting less than what I know I deserve? At that moment, then you kind of tap into that okay, I'm ready to give up saying I'm this way or I'm that way. I'm everything. I'm masculine. I'm feminine. I integrate the entire self and universe. Do what you will. And I always say that use that manifestation as a last resort because it is quite wildly unpredictable. I never imagined that I would be selling my house and taking my then 3-year old and just going off, becoming a single mom, and doing whatever I needed to do in a divine masculine way. I did become both father and mother for a period of time. I even dressed up in a suit and tie for Father's Day, father daughter dances, things like that, father daughter dates. So I stepped into that role and I had absolutely no problem doing it. But I had to get to that point of resignation, of submission, and say, okay, the way that I have been doing things has not been working. In fact, it's been blocking every manifestation that I've wanted. I wish for something to happen, or I have manifested or casted for something to happen, and it hasn't. And maybe there's something in, I mean, the book is not only about the dark goddesses, but it's also about past trauma. It's about your inner child. It's about the shadow living in the background and how maybe those voices of, I don't deserve this, stem from a deeper place that is the shadow. And once you can look at the shadow objectively and learn how to integrate it, those barriers to your manifestation simply fall away. I sat and I said, I can't do this. I can't just take off, sell the house, and begin a new life. And something within me said, why not? Who who says you can't? Society?
Well, I
No,
mean,
you do.
this is
You're the
the
only one.
yeah, of course. This I mean, this is the basic template that I've heard since 2016, 4,500
Yeah.
shows. And it's and yours is interesting because of the way the components, iconic components that that are like, your trail, like your path. But yeah, this thing with, because it's all connected. It's like as you take in more of, and how do you say it? Own more, embody more,
Yes.
accept more. Well, there's so many ways to say it. You're choosing yourself, but you're choosing the other and the collective in equal degree. It's the best thing for the whole kit and caboodle, right? And it starts with the choices we make for ourselves. So it's a it's that liberation. It's you know what I always say. It's that look, that little voice that you were hearing is the same voice I was hearing and everybody else was hearing. The people that were called crazy, but
Right.
crazy isn't crazy anymore. Okay,
I know.
and it's starting to prove that out, and so this is what it's kind of brought us all together, which is exciting.
And I love seeing the feminine rage that is, and I'm talking about healthy feminine rage.
Yeah,
Please
yeah,
understand whenever I say healthy feminine rage, it's standing up and saying, I will not be talked to in that way. I will not be treated in that way. I know my boundaries, my limitations. I know my worth and my value, and you are not respecting me in the way that I deserve to be respected and demand to be respected. And while before you may have allowed people to walk over you, you're no longer allowing that sort of
it's the
denigration of
basic the
one's
basic
inner
curse of
self.
the basic curse of the empath.
Yes.
You
Oh,
know,
and that as well, yeah.
you know what I'm just saying. It's
I've
like, you know,
always been an empath.
like you said, what you said, you try not to create new waves. You try to keep everybody happy. And you
Yeah.
know, we've had these discussions. I've had them with my partner for 10 years, who's very tapped into the feminine, and you know, it's interesting because as we come into this convergence, the inverse is the inverse, and we're I'm speaking metaphorically, where the side he's coming from, the side she's coming from, they're actually going through the same damn thing. It just
Right.
looks different because they had different assignments, you know, on this thing. There's a lot of men eating humble pie right now. And I think I feel like a lot of people will say the feminine goes first, and I feel like that's really what happened. And if you go back to 2012 and see the demographics and the way that's evolved, which was 90-10 feminine to male, then it went to 85, and then to 80 to 20, 75 to 25, 70 to 30, and
Mhm.
really interesting. And I think this is pertinent and synchronistic is that 28 days after the solstice on the Soulogy demographics, which I've been watching for years, it flipped to 50-50. So there was something to be said for the which is coming out in your story, which is as the feminine side stepped into her power, it created a vacuum, okay? And so this is where we're starting to see the other side of it now after all these years, and I know the sisters are happy about that. So yeah, keep going.
Yes.
This is excellent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're seeing, a lot of women who are stepping into their power and saying, "I would rather go it alone than to I would rather it's almost giving me Milton, 'tis better to serve in heaven than to reign in hell than to serve in heaven." But I think women are waking up to the fact, "'Tis better for me to go it on my own, be happy and alone than miserable and with someone for the wrong reason." And we've been conditioned to think that way for a long, long time. But if you go back to, let's see, the Ben Sarat, so this is where we're talking about Lilith, who actually chose to stand up and leave the beautiful Garden of Eden and say, "I am your equal, sir. Adam, I am your equal. I will not lay beneath you and let you tell me what to do. I would rather leave of my own accord and fly away than to be here and be disgraced and not have a voice, an equal voice." And we're seeing more and more women step into that power and lead the charge and lead the way for great change and not be fearful, to look fear in the eye and say, "I have something. I may not be able to exactly tell you what it is, but there is something, some driving force that is very, very strong that is pushing me forward." And the confidence that comes with that is extremely satisfying to see as it plays out in real time. And this does actually come out 2 days before the solstice, as the lunar eclipse, which is going to we're getting ready to have the solar eclipse, which we won't see, but it's going to be the solar eclipse here. This book will be coming out just before the lunar eclipse in the same signs. So we're going to be seeing that completion. I have a feeling that Leo the Leo Aquarius eclipse that we just are about to see is going to be completed. And if you look at Leo, it's about taking charge, right? It's about Mars, it's about action. So it's about and then you talk about it's about the divine masculine, the king of wands taking divisive action, passionate, inspired action. And then you look at Aquarius, which is about the collective, and it's about going rogue and going your own way. And I feel like these are all themes that we're beginning to see show up in books, television. No more has the woman been more the strong female lead character been embraced than recently in the past 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, it's a there's a lot here. Okay, there's a
Yeah.
lot here, and I just keep replaying things, because one of the great things about doing this show is you can see from where I'm sitting, you can see the way we're evolving through the stories. So you can kind of
Oh yeah.
see, like, where we're at and what the evolution's been. And there's a couple of things that you bring up that I think are really important. One of them is, we know that this is a realm. We know that in the last 12,000 years, there's been a significant amount of fuckery that
Yeah.
has been obvious, which has been the suppression of the feminine within us all. You might put it that way.
The feminine power dynamic,
Yeah, I mean,
especially whenever it comes to the collective, is as long as you can collectively keep the feminine voice and the feminine action suppressed,
yeah.
then the patriarchy is something that is sustained, and that goes back for
Well,
thousands of years. It's one of the reasons why the
absolutely
Bible
it
is
is.
most oft quoted and used
Yeah.
as a weapon rather than a it's one of the reasons why I left the church.
Well, anything and everything is up for suspicion, in my opinion, and I would just say equally.
It should be.
I would just say equally that there's been an over identification, over attachment with masculinity to the patriarch. So the truth is that the patriarch didn't just suppress the feminine, but also remember that the masculine energy that is half of us was forced to
Into
be the
hiding
to be
is my
to be the soldier. All right. So
yeah.
there's, like I said, there's a lot here. But one of the things that you brought up that I think is really important, and I think this is the kind of consciousness, like this, the stories are the same. The story is the story is the story. We know the fucking story. The story is that something came in here and interfered, and we can go back 6 to 12,000 years, post Atlantis,
Yeah.
post the flood, whatever the case is. But one of the things that I see in the dynamics of my life and in what I'm witnessing in terms of real-time intel consciousness that's happening on the earth now. And that is and it's always a dual thing. It's a dance of the both parts of us, right? But that is because of the feminine, be it the formation of the stars, progression of the equinoxes, all of us, the you, me, we, and it, whatever it is, the evolution as it stands, is a greater awareness, empathy, compassion for the feminine, for the mother, right? And as a result of that, our masculine side got to know her a little bit better, okay? And I'm sure that it works the other way. And what I'm specifically speaking of is her nature that was characterized as very unnatural in this straight line construction of the last, say, 12,000 years. So what I'm
Yes.
saying is that what I've experienced and what I'm witnessing is the masculine part of us coming into enough presence to be able to understand her and realize that she operates outside of the lines. So, emotional outburst, unconventional methodology, woo woo, all this stuff
It's only
it's being,
unconventional because
but
people are unfamiliar with it.
well, that's what I'm saying.
It's
So it's being,
who's
but
to
it's
say what's
being.
conventional and unconventional?
Well, yeah,
It
yeah. I'm
has to
just,
be
yeah.
someone in a position of power that says right, wrong. And we're now saying it doesn't that no longer matters. No one gets to call the shots over who we are. Masculine, feminine, it doesn't matter. Autonomy and taking back what is our sovereignty, stepping into our divine birthright, which we have, women as well, which men have always, in some part, kind of had the kind of cornerstone, the lock and key on that. Going back long time ago, we're now saying, well, why not us? Why not me? Why I'm deserving? And we're actively pushing back, and I love to see that in society and in women in general. I'm a
Well, like,
friend to everyone that wants to stand up and say, I'm done being the good girl anymore, because where has it gotten me? Or I have to take action on this. And you shouldn't be shamed for feeling the way that you do, or acting the way that you do, or standing up and saying, my voice deserves to be heard, God damn it.
yeah,
Because I'm tired of being quiet and
yeah,
being the good girl.
yeah, yeah,
And I try
and
and teach that to my daughter a lot.
yeah. Well, I mean, the one thing about uh, the experience that we're having, right? This transition we like to call ascension, whatever that means.
Mhm.
The
Right.
information is moving much faster. It's becoming embodied much quicker and actualized much quicker. Okay,
Yes.
it's almost like the information that comes in today, you don't even have time to explain it because there's more information and a higher truth comes tomorrow. There's a higher level of understanding. I think a lot of this has boiled down to, or has come down to, the perception of one gender to the other. Okay, and it, like, I go back to what I was saying, and I'll finish it up now, is that when the feminine part of us gained enough recognition to step into their power, because as a counter, the environment became one where they started to feel safe. And once they started to feel safe, which had to start with themselves, then it starts to grow and expand. And now I feel like we've reached something in 2026. And I think you were speaking to the stars and the celestial alignments, astrology, and this and that, which I think we're actually far greater than that. Is that it's starting to really, we're going to have a radical change here. And it looks like it's going to happen very, very quickly. And at the root of it is this sovereignty, this self-autonomy, this omniscience that we actually carry in these bodies, be it a female, be it a male.
We
And
are all
again,
just a divine spark, completely devoid of gender. That spark that burns within us is a divine spark that we doesn't have a gender. And I think in 2026 we're seeing more support for those who choose to speak out and speak up than we ever have in previous years. And it's providing this um, community, and it's providing this space now for it to be acceptable, which is both sad and relieving at the same time that we had to get to this place. But yes, I'm right there with you. I think that we're in a time of great change, and souls have been lining up to say, this is a point in history that I want to experience for a reason.
yeah, yeah. And if you look, I mean, because there's so many ways to look at this. If you look at,
Yeah.
and I know there's less and less of us even paying attention, but there's still metaphoric and energetic, symbolic things that we can see as within without. And so you look at this Epstein thing. You look at the patriarchal infrastructure trying to hold on to the deceit, or to the secrecy or to the lies or however you want to put it. It's crumbling. This is bigger than all of us, right? And then opposing that is a couple of men here and there, and I'm not taking anything away from the men or the male masculine, but you have
Right.
all of these females in form that are really
I
a
was gonna say, who
metaphor.
who
They're
who are the who are the ones who are really pushing for this? I mean, we just saw an ad on the Super Bowl of the survivors that are breaking their own anonymity when they could be staying in the shadows, but they're having the courage to stand up and say, "I want these files released because I want my story told."
yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. So
Yeah,
you have this counter to that, and it's not going away. Okay,
and
so
it's growing, and
right,
it's
so
powerful,
right,
and
and
it's
so
not going to stop growing.
that's right. So then you have this force, okay, that is still standing while the and we talk about this all the time. You know, all the old infrastructures are deconstructing because they're built on the old paradigm constructs. Now, the exciting thing about watching something like this, even though we know a lot of it is to induce us from, you know, doing the real work on ourselves, like you opened the show with, is that the truth is coming out, and the symbology of it is what's striking. And I really feel like it speaks to the way the energy is unfolding to include the other side of the house coming in to support this in a much different characteristically speaking, much different way than we've attributed just through the programming and conditioning, because you cannot be exposed to something over and over and over again. And like you were saying at the beginning, la-di-da, fluffy love and light, I'm okay, the world is screwed.
Right.
You not be affected. We've all been affected. You know what I mean? If we're still in this body, we're still subject to the human condition, right?
People have the ability, that's true, but people do have the ability to stay in that bubble of ignorance. And ignorance can sometimes be blissful because it is too painful to look outside of what we've always considered to be safe. That's the human condition. We do value our safety. We value things going smoothly. One of the most difficult things that we can face is change, but change is always inevitable. With that being said, the flip side of that, and this is, we have to have the flip side to everything. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Then everything will stay the same. So we have to endure a bit of uncomfortability whenever it comes to the aspect of change to see something potentially better or at least something different, because a lot of us are tired of the way that things have been going, and we're standing up now and we have the ability to say, I deserve to be heard. This has been going on. I mean, you look back in time to the 60s, whenever a lot of women were getting very outspoken in walkouts, bra burnings, things of that nature. We'll go back to that time whenever they were saying, I guess that was whenever Pluto would have been in Sag. But yeah, it's we're coming back on this time of it's a reckoning of something needs to change. Something is going to change. You can either be resistant to it and that which you resist persists, or you can go with the flow and continue to evolve and change. Nothing ever stays the same. It doesn't. I'm sure, 3,000 years ago, the Greeks and the Romans thought that Apollo and Dionysus and all of the Greek gods would remain until the end of time. And then here comes along Christianity and other religions as well. So nothing is permanent. The only thing that we can count on is the impermanence. The only thing that we can count on is change. Change in and of itself is constant.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. That's why we've come to this part of
It's
the
a critical
evolution.
juncture. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the basic recipe is exactly what you're saying, though. We've been put into an environment where stagnation was the norm. What's stagnation? Stagnation is, here's this new set of rules, and you're going to stay in this box. And so
Right.
then you start to have the rebels that start to
It's
step outside of
comfortability.
they start to step out of the box. Well, That's
Right.
the universe in form. The universe is never stagnant. It's always moving forward. We've been put in a
Right.
mind fuck, basically, that has been a psychosis. It's been a psychological warfare. You can talk about the tech, this goal to voice technology. You can talk about all kinds of stuff. You could even talk about the feminist movement in the '60s, which I was there, and through research found out that it was actually initiated by the Rockefellers through some late '50s advertising. It was premeditated to break up the family. I mean, there's so many different aspects of this, but I really like the way that you approach it in terms of it's really the individual. You can tell me what
Empowering.
you can tell me whatever you want. I can tell you whatever I want. You can teach me
Right.
or attempt to, vice versa. But the bottom line is, it's through our experience, our own epiphanies and revelations, and our own discussions with the soul, with the universe, with the higher self, whatever you want to call it, what I call the brutal honesty of the soul, accepting everything, learning these things with a
Mhm.
lessening charge carried forward, because we've all been prejudiced and biased by our own experiences, yet those experiences are totally relevant and carry unique code as we come into this space of self autonomy, basically.
What's interesting though is that this is not a localized phenomenon. So if you were to say that this is only a Texas-based, because I live in Texas, if you were to say this is only, I live in the U.S. I live in the Western Hemisphere. I live in North America. This is not a localized phenomenon. We're seeing this on a global scale. We're seeing women coming into a place where they're saying, I am tired of this shit, and I deserve the same. Even in different countries and different areas of the world, it's a global phenomenon where women are standing up and saying, I deserve the same rights, or at least more rights than what I have previously been given, and I'm not going to take it anymore. And the rise of the feminine is being assisted by the integration of the masculine and the feminine, and saying, I am not going to just simply be relegated to one side of the coin or the other, because there are both sides to the coin. And if I flip it over, then I can be that. And if I flip it over to this side, then I can be this. So there are a lot of times when my divine feminine is called forth to the forefront and I need to take action. There are a lot of times when my daughter is in need of the divine feminine and she's called to the forefront and I'm the nurturing mother. So it's learning how to balance that aspect of oneself, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, when it calls for it, that we really do need to. That's the aim of this book, is learning how to balance that, to determine what that is, and to allow it to be integrated in a healthy way, so that you don't just go off in one crazy direction or the other, because then you're going to be going in completely opposite
Well, I mean, I
directions
think that goes without
instead of
saying.
intersection.
Because we all have gone through projection. We've had projection which we could see much clearer aimed at us, but we didn't see the
Oh yeah.
projection that we were putting out there, which we still do to this
Right.
day. But it's lessening. It's lessening and lessening and lessening.
It is.
And there's so much to learn here,
I'm
and
so happy to see that every day.
yeah, there's so much to learn here, and it's mind blowing. One of the ways I keep myself in check is for myself, and again I project it onto others, I guess too. And I say, well, look, you can't call yourself a divine masculine. You can't call yourself a divine feminine. Okay, if you're in other words, if I'm a divine masculine, if my divine masculine is 100% in the house, then that means my divine feminine is 100% in the house. Okay, that means I have no prejudice and biases either direction, right?
Right.
So this is a constant, still in process, but that's the way the universe works too. That's another misconception with the whole 12,000 years, and even you brought up religion, and I've always said, why isn't there one of the major religions, including the Tibet Buddhist, okay, which Dalai Lama was mentioned 1,500 times in the Epstein thing. All I'm trying to say is you can't buy anything that's been presented to us, and the bottom line is it's become very obvious what the gig was. I mean, how many 50, 60 million primarily females got burned at the stake in the Inquisition in the 1600s. I mean, there's a reason for that.
1692.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's a reason for that. There's a reason that the holistic stuff got shut down. There's a reason that feminist thing was.
It's
It's
fear,
all.
and then you go
Yeah,
back to the 1500s in Europe, and you go back to the Maleficarum. I mean, there's been a long sordid history of women being the focal point, and the reason that they were targeted is not because they were presumed witches, but because they
of
were
course.
widows who had inherited their husband's land.
Well, that and
And
they
boy,
did.
wouldn't
They
you like to have that land?
yeah. Well, yeah, they
So
did.
let's just call
Yeah.
her a witch and burn her at the stake, and then it's all yours.
Well,
You know,
yes, but I think also they definitely had an agenda. Christianity was a
oh
vehicle
yeah,
of the
it always
machine.
has been.
Of course, all of them have,
It
in my
always,
opinion. And in my opinion, they all
yeah.
have, and that includes Tibetan Buddhism, and that includes the sects that left Atlantis and went to the different parts of the world. I'm not saying they weren't preserving part of the esoteric knowledge, but at the same time, it's proven out that they're still the same agendas. I remember Lemuria.
Yeah.
Lemuria was a matriarchal. Okay. Now, was it perfect? It
Just
was.
we see matriarchal
But
societies
but
in animals all the time.
yeah. Well, if you look at the indigenous, they still honor the 13 grandmothers. They still honor the
Oh
women.
yeah.
I mean, so there's this kind of I think, and I don't adhere to the Dalai Lama. I'm not against him and for him or not. I'm just saying
It's
I
so
question
funny. I have a
everything.
Lemurian crystal here that is
So,
actually buried at my family cemetery that's tied directly to my ancestors and their lineage. So I
wow,
will
that's
oftentimes
awesome. Is
call
that
on
from
this.
yeah, they have a lot of those in
Um,
Arkansas.
I
Uh,
will oftentimes call on that whenever I
yeah,
am in a predicament where I need to sit and meditate with my inner self.
yeah.
So, and hear what he and she and they integrated have to say. So,
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. I just think it's all coming out. I look at it, I know that if you have all this prophecy in these sacred texts, okay, who wrote them? But my point is, it all points to these times. Is that programming? Is that
I have my
propaganda?
theory.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, but again, we don't want to get. I love your message and the I am soul, Soulogy, the whole message of self autonomy, omniscience. I mean, we run the show, period, from our own little facet, from our own aspect of the collective, the drop in the ocean, which affects the
Mhm.
entire ocean. See quantum
The
entanglement.
single spark in a sea of stars is what I like to say.
Yeah,
That's what I
and
tell my daughter. You are a single spark in a sea of stars.
yeah, and that's true. I mean, we affect everyone and everything, and that connectivity is a natural, organic, perfect design that's coming back online. And I personally think it's bigger than anyone and everyone. Nobody has all the answers. Nobody knows how this is going to go. But the one
If
thing
we're
that's this,
able to be open to it and set aside our predetermined or preconditioned belief systems and be
right?
open to the possibility and the idea, then I think humanity will make a very quick shift into something that is so very welcoming, loving, and just embracing everything and everyone, just based on the inner spark, not whether male, female, color, creed, race, religion, does not matter. It's based on the quality of one's heart or
Yeah,
soul or inner spark, whatever you want to call that thing inside of you that makes you you.
right. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And where do we find that? We find that by staying in our own lane. We
With
find that,
ourself,
yeah, we
within
find that,
ourself.
we find that where and easier said than done,
I know,
translating, and processing and moving forward. Okay, thoughts, words, and action, based on
right?
100% responsibility, 100% ownership of it all. You
Right.
can't be goddess like, godlike. You know what I mean? If you're divorcing yourself or
Yeah,
distancing yourself, separating yourself from any part of this experience, this is well beyond all of our human comprehensions, and it's an interesting dance. And I'm with you. I think that whatever this is, the you, me, we, and it, whatever you want to call it, is bigger than all of us. And there is an unveiling happening and the truth is rising to the top, and somehow or another, the Kali Yuga, the precession of the equinoxes, or all the different things we can look at, the indigenous oral histories, this time has been talked about for a long time because it is some type of gigantic multidimensional nexus point. And we seems like we have the opportunity to be able to make this transition in the flesh.
We do. And like I said, that's my theory is that we have a lot of ensouled humans here that have signed up to be a part of this period in history for a very big reason. Star seeds, light workers, whatever you would like to say, but yes, we're all here for the big show, and there are going to be some that will play a pivotal role, and I believe some already have played a very pivotal role, and albeit to a degree where unfortunately loss of life was part of what they signed up for. I know that what I signed up for was not necessarily the most mm, desirable or easiest experience in my life, but it helped me to come to this place where I am now. And if I had not gone through the challenges that I had, I would not have become the person that I am. So I have to say a huge thank you for anyone who put blockages in my way, for anyone who put a stumbling block in my path, because it only made me able to identify them and to be able to pick myself back up time and time again, and I will do it 1,000 and more times.
Let me ask you this, yeah, and touche to that. What
You
is
only
the
made me stronger. You did not break me.
well? They didn't do anything. You ordered it for yourself, and that's
I know.
that's
But
the whole
but but
thing.
but
Somebody
uh,
does something to us, and that's part of the whole gig. Is it's just like all the propaganda you see out
right.
there. They want you take a side, even if you're on one of those sides. You're missing the point. You're not in the 0 point field. I'm not going to try to get technical, but this is more than all this talk. This is the what you're talking about, which is the self evolution, the self
Mhm.
sourcing in process that continues to move. Like you said, it continues to expand, and it's done at a very dense level, and that's why the whole universe is looking at the humans, going, "How the hell have you come this far?" And how far are you going to take this? Which leads me to my question. So
Mhm.
you're a lot of what I'm picking up from you, and I can relate to this, and I think a lot of people can because I think up until probably maybe really the end of last year, it's just starting to come out now, and maybe there's some kind
Yeah.
of connection to it because of the balance that the feminine and masculine are coming into, whatever, is the shadow work. I mean, that's all
Yeah.
we talked about for 12 years, and rightfully so, all these processes and modalities. But you also mentioned about what happened when you met certain thresholds in regard to
Right.
manifestation. I'd like to know
Right.
how do you see the relationship between the shadow work, or let's just call it, let's say the neutralization of the shadow, the gaining the code from the shadow to manifestation. Is this two
Well,
different pieces,
it is.
or do they actually one works off the other? As you neutralize a shadow or prejudice, a bias, whatever the case is, you start to become, let's say, a greater beacon for manifesting, something like that.
It
Can you?
it's not entirely that it's not entirely that. So I when I was going after after I had had my pivotal moment of taking that leap of faith, and even before that, I started to try and tap into, okay, I want a shadow work book, right? And I found books that were just maybe notebooks that were like, what is the most embarrassing moment of your life? How could you have handled that differently? I'm like, this is something that I would, as a therapist, give my client and just say, fill this out, and then give me your answers back. I wanted something deep, deep. And the more that I searched for something that really got to the Jungian archetypes, which is like the wounded child, the abandoned child, we have to look at those and say, okay, is the abandoned child always seeking more and more and more because of a sense of lack within oneself. Am I creating or am I manifesting from a sense of lack? I have to have this, and I'm reaching for it with desperation because I'm nothing without it, or I cease to be without it, or I'm going to be better because of it. That's not a proper place to manifest. Think of the magician, all of the tools that you have at your disposal, as within, so without, as above, so below, on earth as it is in heaven, as it says in the Bible. But yes, you have to take all of this into effect. What's limiting my wildest dreams? How am I my own worst enemy in a lot of ways? And what can I do to remove that blockage? Say that it is the ignored child or the wounded child, and you say, okay, well, I understand now why I've always wanted to manifest this. Why I've always wanted to manifest a loyal partner. It's because I never felt loved as a child, but I've never felt like I deserved love. So whenever I send my manifestations out to the universe and I say, please bring me someone that is worthy of my love and I am worthy of their love, the message is kind of getting lost because, as it said, where intention goes, energy flows. And then we're dealing with the energy getting stopped at this point of, but I don't deserve it, but I want it, but I don't deserve it, but I want it, but I don't deserve it. So you're fighting your inner shadow whenever it comes to really embodying the manifestation that you want to create. How can you ask for true love or for money or for whatever it is that you're seeking to manifest when deep down inside, in the shadow aspect, in the shadow archetype, in the unhealed version of it, you're still dealing with that lack mentality or feeling unlovable? You can't. So you have to go in there and you have to look at the root, and you have to open the wound and to dig that out and do the shadow work to alleviate that so it no longer becomes a personal blockage, and you can manifest exactly what you want from a place of the healed child shadow archetype, and also from a place of, I mean, there's a ton in here. So if you take Jungian psychology, tarot, shadow work, then you take the dark goddesses, you take past life regression, maybe even past life karma that you've brought into this life, generational karma, that's all talked about in this book as well. It's everything that you could ever want in one book. It's every little book that I read, and I sat down and I said, I there has to be like a compendium, an ultimate, what I always wanted, and I've been known for doing that. If I couldn't find the book I wanted to read, I wrote it. And that's exactly what I did here. So you ask, I mean, there were many times whenever my own limiting beliefs, I guess my archetype would be for this particular thing would be the ignored child, the one that doesn't get the attention and feels like they just need to stay low and not shine. And I had my mother always tell me, "Well, anyone can write a book." Really? Okay. Well, I've this will be my 10th, and I'm an international best-selling author, and I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying that I broke free of what that limiting belief was that had been instilled in me, that was a shadow that was keeping me from reaching for what I knew I deserved. And I broke through that. I healed that within myself. And now I'm not afraid to get out there and say, this is what I have. I'm proud of what I created. And I would like for you to take a look at it. I would like for you to read it. Because I think maybe it will help some people out there. And I always have felt, whenever I first started writing, I could never write to market. That was a huge turnoff for any publisher. So I created my own publishing company. Fuck off. I just created my own. And so, yeah, I've always received downloads, and it's like a movie playing inside of my mind, and I try and get it down on the file, the computer, because I type faster than I can write. So I always try and get it down, but it's a stream of consciousness that just comes into me and it just starts flowing out and writing. All of my books have been that way. they come to me and they say, it's time for you to write me because the world needs this book or someone out there needs this book. And I really feel the same way about this. Now is the time for this because we're stepping into that era of shit or get off the pot. It's time for you to either do this thing or be left
No, I agree.
behind.
Well, I don't know about that, but I mean, I think it is. I think the universe is saying it's time to walk the
Well,
talk. I think there's a lot of
it
people.
is. Yeah.
There's a lot of people in a circle that I don't know how big it is that have done a serious amount of shadow integration over the last decade.
We have to
I've
continue to raise the vibration of the earth. We have to continue to bring forth that authentic and not the fake light and love, not spiritual bypassing, which is also talked about in this book. But you have to get in there and you have to get your hands dirty. You have to get into the muck of the shadow and dig through until you can find that seed and say, okay, there it is. I see it. Now, how do we heal it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a big believer now that the status that we're at, that when you come into awareness, it is a transformation in that moment. This is the level of
Mind
the
blowing.
level of organic technology that we've reached, or at least we've breached.
Yep.
This is a how many of those Jungian archetypes are even real? And
Um,
are there higher archetypes, you might say, that have stepped in as we've done the neutralization of those perceived archetypes that he talked about? And who was he? Right? I mean, we're talking about questioning
he was quite
everything.
the esotericist himself.
I've read a lot of his stuff. I've
Yeah.
read his red book. I'm very familiar with him.
Okay.
All I'm saying is that sometimes it's like they told me, 14. What year is this now? 15 years ago, when I had my
26.
when I had my reawakening. A lot of people know this. I went by my own choice, homeless, on the streets of Houston for 2 years,
There you go.
and I'm
I was
downloading,
prepared to do the same thing.
and I'm writing, and one of the things I was told is every day is an ascension. Every day you can look at it as a scale of 1 to 10. So Monday comes and you say you make it all the way to a 10. You put your head on the pillow, you go to sleep, and you wake up, and the next day, the 10 is a 1, and there's a new scale of 1 to 10. So every day that we wake up, every phase, every threshold that we cross, there's a higher truth on the other side, which basically makes those things behind us
There's the potential of a higher truth.
less
There's the potential of a higher truth if you're open to it.
well. The only way you're going to see a higher truth is to cut the bullshit with yourself.
Yeah.
The world
Yes.
hasn't a fucking thing to do with it, okay? It's all about you. What's presented to you is for you. What happens to you is for you. It's not.
And this is a
Yeah. So,
yeah. We have to strip we have to strip the ego, we have to strip the blindfold off, and we have to really truly look clearly at everything that's going on without bias, without our own negative programming that we have, and we have to really take a look and say, okay, what is it that me, myself, and I am comfortable with? What resonates with me, my best and highest good, and what is for what am I deserving of? And that's a personal choice for every single person, but it contributes to the collective consciousness. So we
yeah.
can be it's many different, like you said, many different drops in the ocean that are now the sea is turning a different color, let's say, because of so many drops that are enlightened. It's turning a
Well,
different.
I
It's
mean, I don't
shining
know.
brighter.
I mean, I don't know here.
I'd
I
like
mean,
to think
again,
so.
well, I don't know. I just think there's a lot of things that we put in platitude form that no longer apply. No different than things that were in platitude form that we read in books like As Within Without, Hermetic Principle, in the Bible, whatever the case is. It's one thing to hear something and or go within. It's one thing to hear something and it's another thing to do it. And
Right.
to me, the real code, the real value is coming through the person the
Where the rubber
person's
meets the
the
road.
it's through the person's actual experience. It's through the person's eating humble pie.
Yeah.
It's through the person, people come on the show for years and they'll say, well, those people aren't awake. Well, how the fuck do you know? How do you know, or I know, or not know, that we're not all beating at the same vibration? We just can't see it. There's a
Can't
yin to
presume.
every yang. Okay,
Yeah,
so
you can't presume.
there's a level of, and this is what attracted me to the whole concept or part or piece of the mother, which you refer to as the dark feminine path,
The, the dark
is
feminine.
yeah, but it's okay, and that is that in the seed of that which I know, and I can only speak in my own verbiage, my own nomenclature, I call
Hmm.
it the mother goddess, okay? Because
Mother Maiden Crone, the traditional Celtic
I just
mother
mean I
goddess,
just mean
lunar
mother
goddess.
goddess. Some people say God, some people say source. I just say the mother goddess because I look at
Okay.
it as a feminine. And the reason I do is because that's what births everything in this universe. All right, so, but that particular presence or energy or whatever you want to call it is the most compassionate, the most empathic. And I always use the example of if a mother has, and you can relate to this in Texas, 10 children, and
Oh, I can't relate to that. No.
one of those children ends up on a bad night murdering somebody, killing somebody, and goes to prison, and gets
Mm,
ostracized and gets whatever. That mother will never give up on that child. That mother will
right.
not see that child as any
Well,
different than any of her other children. This is the type of energy
well,
that we're talking about. And what I learned in that summer in 22 was through that perceived darkness, okay, which I can't say it was even perceived because it was shown to me, but there was a difference. It was just the other depth of her spectrum, but it was still pure love, okay?
yeah.
And what it was showing to me was, in other words, can you allow this to flow and scream and be whatever the case is, and still love me the same?
Yes.
Because there's some type of simultaneous reaction when that happens, and we all live this, throughout our lives when we have that moment of equilibrium with an opposing polarity, normally as a person, But that's to me like what is appealing. It's like, can we accept? We talk about it in externals, but can we accept each and every part of us? I'm not going to sit here and say I don't have a prejudice and a bias. I think I'm a pretty open-minded person, and I think that there's a lot of evidence for that. But it's just still, I still find myself at times, judging, which is what? Prejudice, it's bias, it's superiority, it's narcissism. We live in a
Well,
narcissistic realm. This is what we're coming out of. And I think this kind of
our
information that you're
our
writing
ego
about really
tends
needs to come
to
out. Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
our ego tends to enjoy the dopamine and the I mean, it's all tied in with neural chemistry as well. So, I mean, there is a sense of pride and a sense of a boost that we get from being proven right about a particular thing. Whether or not it turns out being right in the end, we're right in the moment. And that gives us a sense of yeah, I got it. I'm right. Uh, take down the need for to be right. And as far as the child who murders or who commits some heinous act, I was that child, and I don't mean in the sense that you described. I was for many years. I'm 6 years sober. I was a drop down, fall down alcoholic, and my mother stood by me, and I was the worst version of myself when I was drinking. And I probably, in those moments, glimpsed my own reflection in the mirror as the dark feminine. And I still, the next morning, whenever I woke up, I still loved myself and I gave myself compassion for whatever I did the night before, knowing that that was not me. That was another facet of myself. My mother never stopped loving me, even though I went completely off of the path. So yes, that does happen. I found comfort in, and you see this a lot with starseeds or people who are empaths and they just want to numb, but that became an issue for me that I'm now proud to say 6 years sober, continuing to be sober, and will never go back. But that's something that a shadow of mine that I had to come to terms with. I am an alcoholic. I will always be an alcoholic, and I cannot drink. No matter how much I would like to, no matter how tempting it might be, I have to stare that demon down or that shadow, and whatever you want to term it, everyone's going to have a different name for it, and say, I've already made peace with you. I have already done the shadow work that I needed there in that particular situation. Therefore, you don't affect me anymore. Now, imagine if you could do that with your worst limiting beliefs or your darkest beliefs or your darkest prejudices. If you could do the inner work and heal those as well. So it talks about doing a lot of that. And a lot of this is programmed from our environment and from our caretakers and the way that we were raised and systemic socioeconomical factors and a lot of things that a lot of us grew up as seeing completely as normal. I don't think they deserve to be normalized anymore. And that is what I'm attempting to do, is those who have integrated both the masculine and the feminine, who are taking up the path of the dark feminine, are standing up and saying, I'm not going to be quiet anymore. I'm going to speak out on this. It may not be it may not be a popular opinion, but it's something that deserves to be heard.
Yeah. And yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for speaking your truth, figuratively or literally. It doesn't mean you're going to be right. In
No.
fact, that has no relevance whatsoever. The only thing that's right about it
Nope.
is you're expressing
And how you
your
implement that lesson in your life and share it with everyone else.
yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like art. You know, creativity is actually
Oh,
our highest potential from moment to moment, be it a conversation, be it a problem, whatever the case is. So creativity to me is the expression of the inspiration that we have for whatever you want to call that, mother goddess, source, whatever the case is. And then going back to this, you know, listening to again, like the story that you tell, it's in really all its ways, other than the specificities of your particular journey, like in your case, the things that brought you to the party. It's the same thing I've heard for 9 years. It's the same
yeah.
story I have. But my point is the importance of the voice taking the step to speak. That's the important thing, because you're
Yes.
choosing yourself, and you may get it wrong, and you may project, and you may go off, and or whatever the case is. And this is part of the beauty too, because we're not living in a linear timeline. We realize this
Right.
now. This is quantum.
Right.
It's multi. So if I have a trigger, you know, we're in a conversation.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have a trigger,
Yep.
and
Yep. Yep.
I speak my truth, though. Okay, speak my truth, and I'm blessed enough to be in front of somebody that just serves
You
as a mirror.
trigger me.
That well, I'm
You
just saying
trigger
that.
me. It's my responsibility to ask myself and my shadow, why did that trigger me? Why did that trigger us? What inside of me is it that felt uncomfortable with that statement or what he said? So we have to take some responsibility on ourselves if we find ourselves triggered, to say, why though?
Hundred
What is
percent.
it
A
that
hundred
that I
percent.
haven't? Yeah,
A
and I
hundred
wish
percent.
other people who do find themselves triggered, especially in this period of our history, ask themselves and do some reflection and say, why does that bother me so bad?
Yeah,
Why?
I think we're figuring that out. I think we figured that part
Yeah.
out, and I think that
We're starting. It's
well,
close. We're close. We're so close.
I mean, I don't know,
I mean, I
but
have faith.
believe me, I'm the ultimate optimist, ultimate positive mental, you know, positive spiritual attitude. Believe me, but I just think as we lay absolutes down and try to qualify things, and
Well, what is close?
Well,
I
that's what
mean,
I'm saying. Like,
and
it's more. There's more for me in the present conversation. You know, it's like this is
yeah.
all we have. You know, it's like Joseph Campbell says: if you don't get it here,
Right.
there's eternity has no time. So you know,
Right.
if you don't get it here, you're not going to get it anywhere. But what I was saying
Well, we're a
in
hell
the
of a lot closer now than we were, 3,000 years ago. I will say that
yeah,
even 1,000 years ago, even 80 years ago.
yeah,
So we are making progress
oh,
incrementally. So,
absolutely,
and
yeah,
what is
absolutely,
close? I can't say, but I have this is what I've gleaned from
yeah,
my spirit guides, who I talk with through scrying, through the cards, through a lot of different areas, um, even lower dimensional realms that I connect with,
mm-hmm.
dreamscapes, astral work, where I go into the astral. We are nearing this event horizon. Now, how far away it is, I cannot exactly tell you, but it's getting closer. It's
Yeah.
getting
Yeah, I
closer.
mean that's
That's all I can say.
there's more and more people saying that. You can look at the work of Dolores Cannon,
Oh
Edgar
yeah.
Casey, Franco de Nicola,
Hmm.
but
Oh yeah.
we're also moving into a higher bandwidth of awareness and consciousness, which involves things that are non-physical on a greater. It's no longer an
Hmm.
aberration or a
Right.
unique quality. Every single one of us has these experiences every single day, and they're bleeding in more and more and more. And so, what I'm
Hmm.
getting at, going back to the original thing that I brought up, is if I'm blessed to be in a space in a non-linear field, which is what we're in, and the root of
I
it,
like to call it the liminal.
the root of it, the initiator of it, the teacher of it, is what you started this show with, and what this example was, and that was, I speak my truth. My truth might be, you just pissed me off. My truth might just stub my toe. My truth might be, I don't like this. I don't like that.
And
But if I'm in a
everyone
space,
is entitled to their own truth,
yeah, this
and
is my
everyone is entitled to be wrong about their own truth.
this is my point. My point is that if you speak your truth and it's really true and there's no charge attached to it, there might be
Right.
emotion, because that's a very unique
Right.
quality to us in terms of the universal family, which is a big thing about creativity and manifestation. And I'm blessed to
Mhm.
be in a space where it's mirrored back to me. In other words, I can see my reflection. There's no engagement from the lower vibrations or the prejudice or bias vibrations, and it's not the old codependent, toxic type of engagement. Then I can go. It might
My
take a
partner
day.
has the same effect on me. He's very good
It
at mirroring back to me.
it might take 5 days or 5 weeks, but at some point I'm going to realize that what I
Yeah.
spoke was my
Yeah.
truth in that moment. And I'm not judging
Hmm.
myself. I'm
Yeah.
compassionate to myself, and therefore it's going to be a simultaneous reaction to those people that I play with. And then there's another dose of the code or the gold that came from that exchange. So we're no longer judging these things based on 2,000 years, 6,000 years, 12,000 years. I'm armchair, not armchair quarterback. I'm a novel novice historian. I love history, and I love all
Oh,
aspects of
I do too.
history. But it's like we become into such a present state of being that anything is available to us at any time. The more open we are, and I think that's starting to come down to these to the very human exchanges that we have. In other
Yeah.
words, the human seems to be on point of our multidimensionality. That seems to be kind of like the rudder of the highest intelligence that we can gain, because everything that we speak of, everything we've
For
come
now.
into, well, everything that we've come into this series of incarnations, let's just say in the earth plane, you can call it the Akashic. We're going to
Right.
have all that. We're going to have all that when we leave. So
Yes.
a lot of people have come into these multidimensional connectivities, and at one time, like language is a perfect example, it was a very unique quality. Now it's become very common, okay, because we're all coming into a greater level of awareness. So what is the importance of this whole thing? It's the space between when we came in and the space when we go out. All that stuff
Hmm.
in between, was new to us, and the shadows seem to be the root, what we call the shadows, which will probably come up with a different word now. The shadows seem to be the root of the gold. And I just was,
Right.
that's why I had that question, because I thought, what is the relationship looking like between the neutralization of the shadow and an organic, natural unfoldment of true creativity, which we call manifestation? And I'm not talking the secret here. I'm talking
If we're
about,
able to
yeah.
Right. If we're able to release the limiting beliefs that we have within ourselves that we've either conditioned ourselves to have or that have been put upon us by upbringing, society, outside forces, let's just say outside forces is a blanket statement, then think about how much less resistance that energetic signature has or the frequency has between you, the idea, and the outcome, which is the manifestation. There's a lot less that exists. There's a lot less muck that the shadow has created that frequency, that manifestation has to get through, and a lot less. Think of it like a rubber band. Like that shadow can keep your manifestation from 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 continuing on. It just snaps it back because somewhere in the back of your mind you say, I'm not going to take action on that. Yes, I did manifest a new job, but I'm not going to put my resume out there because I just I don't think that I don't deserve that job, not that one. Go for it. Go for the goddamn job because if you believe that you can and you truly do and you do the work to say, yeah, I know what I deserve. I'm confident in myself and I'm allowed to have that confidence based on what I can see, feel, touch, taste, smell, and everything that I've accomplished in the past. There's no reason for me not to stand up and bravely say, I deserve this fucking job. I deserve it because I know that I deserve it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and watch how that affects your life. And it's not toxic positivity and it's not spiritual bypassing. It's because you went in and you did the difficult work to clean out whatever was holding you back. Call it the shadow, call it whatever it is that you want, but there's something that's limiting you from moving forward. And most likely it's something deep within that you don't even know about yet.
Yeah, and then and
Um,
then there's the placebo effect, and I'm sure you've had an experience like this. We all have. I know I've had
oh,
it a
of
few
course.
times. I'm talking about where,
Oh,
like where you walk into an arena, a specific arena. It could be as a child in a sports.
uh-huh.
It could be the business. It could be whatever, and you don't really know the rules, and you don't really know the conventional wisdom, and you step up to the plate and you knock one out of the park. And then everybody says, "How did you do that?" And then you start to realize what the narrative is, and you fall from grace, kind of thing. So, yeah, as much
And
as the shadow is like, I don't know, it's almost like the ego. People talk to me about, well, the ego's
There's
no, the
there's
ego,
there's the ego, the id, the ego, the superego. If we want to talk about in terms of and I studied in classical psychology. So if we want to talk in classical psychological terms, then you have the ego, which keeps you alive. You have the superego, and then or the id, which is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Your basic what it is that you need to survive. Then you have your ego, which is again is a sense of who I am. Then you have the super ego, which well we've seen fairly a lot lately. It's this very grandiose
what are
sort
you
of
referring to?
persona that one has
Don't get that started, man.
of I
Anybody
have
wants
I
anybody
have
wants to
all of
check
the
the
answers.
yeah.
I
Anybody
have all of the answers. Just trust me, bro.
no, that's
Yeah, no,
that's that's the realm. That's the realm. The
right.
realm the realm is a narcissistic realm. The realm tells you, the realm gaslights you. I mean, it's just there's so much to get into here, but this was a powerful,
I it
fast and
it can
furious
be it's
90
it's
minutes.
deep. There's a lot.
Oh, there, yeah,
There's a lot. And
yeah.
that's why it's so I mean, it's over 300 pages and I had to make the print as small as possible. My
Wow.
apologies.
Yeah.
Grab you some readers. But yeah, it's dense and it's the shadow work book that I wish I had that I was looking for a long, long time ago. If I had found it then, would it have made a difference? I think that's
Well,
a postulation of a question that
the book is
doesn't
part of your
matter.
transformation. The book is part of your story. It's part
Exactly.
of your
This
transformation.
book was
It's
born
energy. It's energy.
from looking for the answers that I didn't have.
If Edgar Casey could lay his head on a book and read it all when he woke up,
Right.
this is the kind of paradigm shift that we're walking into. This is a whole different level of technology. It's a whole different language. It's a whole different sacred geometry, color spectrum. It's just
And you're gonna need to be
everything is,
prepared as best you can.
well, I mean, I guess, it's going to come when it comes. I don't know about you, but it comes for me 2 or 3 times a day. So now, can you
On a
go?
soul level, on a soul level.
Can you go? No, I mean on all levels. But can you go to my page on Facebook and put up the link for the book? And
It's available everywhere.
okay,
Everywhere.
okay.
So it is. I've
Oh, I
been
got you.
doing this. I'm an international best-selling author. I wrote about. You spoke of history earlier. I wrote Saltwater and Driftwood, which is the story of the 1900 Galveston hurricane.
Mm,
If you know Indianola, which was wiped out
yeah.
successively twice before Galveston became the seaport of Houston or of Texas. Anyway, but yeah, I it's available everywhere globally, worldwide, on all networks, in both digital and paperback. You can find it. It is globally distributed. So
Okay.
I use an aggregator distributor for both the digital copies as well as the physical copies. If you actually want to get in there and make you some notes, because I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff in this book.
It looks like it. Well, thank you for coming in for 90 minutes
Well,
of
thank you for
power,
having me.
and thank you everybody for joining us for the second show. We'll have another
Yes.
show coming on. And that's going to be I can't think 5 hours, 4 hours from now, with Gareth and Katie. So thank you, my homegirl from Houston, Texas, Anna. Thank you for coming
Yay.
in. I look forward to doing this again with you sometime. And if anything happens in between, I'll see you on this side, the other side, or both.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thank you again, Todd.
All right. Blessings of peace, grace, and love to you and your family and all your endeavors. And I'll see you guys later today. You guys take care, and thank you very much for coming in.